Tonight, the Islanders have a golden opportunity. An opportunity where theoretically you should only have once every 32 years. As the day has come, the draft is here, and the Islanders have the first overall pick. And to make it even crazier, there's a high chance the Islanders will be drafting twice in the top 5 of today's draft. We're going to break it all down on this episode of Islanders Digest, as a trade they made earlier today really opens up the windows for the Islanders to come in, select Mathew Schaefer or Michael Misa, depending on who you want, and then come back in and draft James Hagens. Although I don't know if it would really make any sense to draft Michael Misa and James Hagens, considering they're both centers. But this is an opportunity the Islanders have, especially now that they've made a trade for Noah Dobson. Now, we're not going to focus on the Noah Dobson trade in this video. We made a previous video earlier today giving my thoughts on why I think this can be a really good move for the Islanders if they capitalize on this draft capital. So we're not going to really focus on here. Instead, we're going to focus on this opportunity in front of the Islanders with the draft. And before we get into that, the channel is absolutely blowing up recently, especially with all this trade rumors. Actually, not even trade rumors, all this action around the Islanders. Our goal now is to really hit 1,500 by the end of the draft. So if you haven't already, what are you waiting for? Join this Islanders community. It's going to be a really good time this next few days as we really get a feel of what Matthew Darsh's Islanders are going to be like. We're going to be honestly putting out videos every few hours as the Islanders continue to make draft picks and hopefully make a blockbuster trade to bring home James Hagens, which, especially now that Dobson is gone, the Islanders have those 2 picks. I think that is the best decision for the Islanders, and I'm really hoping it's happening. I'm going to say I honestly think there is a 60-40 chance this takes place tonight. And if not, I do think this can still be a huge win for the Islanders. I'm actually going to talk about some of the prospects that the Islanders can draft 16th and 17th. And depending on who falls, this can also be incredible. There are a lot of players I like after the top 10 that, frankly, I've been a little disappointed that I haven't been able to talk about since the Islanders were first overall, players that I really fell in love with throughout the year when the Islanders looked like they were going to be in the playoffs, or at least in that conversation. So now I'm so glad I actually have the chance to talk about them, even if it's just an hour before the draft. Now, I asked this community a few days ago who you like to see, actually yesterday, who would you like to see the Islanders draft first overall. 82% of you and me, as you can see, selected Mathew Schaefer. 11% of you want to see Michael Misa, and 6% of you want to see James Hagens. I'm pretty sure a lot more than just 6% of us want to see James Hagens, but first overall, it was 6%. And especially now that Noah Dobson has been traded, I think, while we're not going to focus on Noah Dobson here, I think it's a foregone conclusion now that you do not trade Noah Dobson unless you're bringing in a new franchise defenseman, and that is going to be Mathew Schaefer. The Islanders are almost definitely going to pick him first overall, and I'm going to be so happy with this choice. And I do want to say, no matter what the Islanders do tonight in this draft, whether they trade for James Hagens or they're not able to get it done, be happy that the Islanders are drafting Mathew Schaefer. Enjoy this. This is a franchise defenseman, a player you very rarely get the opportunity to draft first overall. It's very rare that a defenseman is the caliber of Mathew Schaefer, where he is pretty much, at least in terms of the scouts, a unanimous first overall pick. Enjoy this moment. Even if not everything goes the way you want it to for the Islanders, this is going to be a great night for the future of this franchise, as they are adding their core piece for the future. And from today on, once Mathew Schaefer, or even if it is Michael Misa, or even James Hagens, whoever they select first overall, from that point on, this team is really going to be built around that player. It instantly goes from Matt Barzal or Ilya Sorokin or even Bo Horvat's team to Mathew Schaefer's team, and he is going to be the pace that you build around long term, which is actually one of the reasons why, in addition, I do like this Dobson trade, just because this is the new window the Islanders are building around. It is going to be centered around Mathew Schaefer. There is a small, and at this point I would be stunned, small chance they do select Michael Misa. And if they do, I'm not going to be disappointed. I'm going to be a little concerned about this team's future defense, but in terms of quality, Michael Misa is definitely the second best player in this draft, and he is a phenomenal goal scorer, a phenomenal playmaker, an all-round defenseman, likely all-round center, likely going to be, whoever drafts him is likely going to be a first line, if not second line, because of San Jose already has Celebrini, probably the best second line center a couple of years in the future in the NHL. This is an incredible player as well, and who we really want to focus as Islander fans is James Hagens, because there's a real chance now. I think the Islanders make this trade, getting these picks for Noah Dobson, primarily because they don't want to pay Noah Dobson, but the bonus is they now have the draft capital to try to acquire James Hagens. Now, as Frank Cervelli has pointed out, having the 16th and 17th overall pick means the Islanders likely have, in terms of the value of each pick, a 16 and 17 overall pick combined are equal to about a 4th to 6th overall pick in the NHL. So right there, they basically have the draft capital to get this done. I will say, though, I don't think it's going to be that easy. I don't think Utah is going to trade their pick just for assets. In addition, just for draft picks. In addition, I don't think other teams, such maybe Nashville, might make it easy, especially Barry Trotz. Who knows what the Predators are doing? I wish Trotz would succeed as a GM, but I just constantly don't know what he is doing as a GM. But after that, if the Islanders can't get the 4th overall pick or the 5th overall pick, the 6th overall pick belongs to the Flyers. And in addition to the odds going down just because every team has a chance to draft James Hagens, the Flyers are definitely not going to be doing the Islanders a favor. And every team in the NHL knows the Islanders want to do this. So as a result, I think this might be a situation where we're going to have to either package a player with one of these 2 picks. Hopefully not Romanov, well, that's something I definitely can see. I think would make a lot of sense for Utah. Another player I think really might get moved tonight, and it'd be a shame if he does, is Simon Holmstrom. He's a player Utah would definitely be interested in. We have to see what happens, but I really do think, depending on what the offer is going to be, even if it's a situation where they have to go up 16, 17, and then 42, I would just do it. Is it an overpay? Yes, but I think for James Hagens, it is worth it. James Hagens has been falling in this draft. We talked about it a lot in this channel. And I'm just going to say, I don't understand why. I truly do not understand why this player has dropped as far as he has. I understand why he's not the 1st overall pick. Schaefer is just that incredible. And if you watch a clip of Schaefer playing, you'll see right away just how he controls the game. I understand why Michael Misa is the 2nd overall pick. He just has such a level of dynamic offense and really showed he has a level above Hagens, at least in his potential. Beyond that, I don't think any prospect has proven themselves more than Hagens has. Yes, his year was a disappointing year in Boston, but he was playing against bigger competition. And it's really funny to see a player like Anton Frondell rise up the draft board because he was playing against men, when he really struggled at points in this draft year, especially at points relying on Victor Eklund, who we're going to tease later, I think might even be the better selection at perhaps not 3rd overall, but I think he's a better player than Frondell. To see Hagens slip, I think it's a big mixture of teams just looking too much into what has recently won the Stanley Cup and not focusing on what you should focus on, which is drafting the best player available. After Schaefer and Misa, I think Hagens is the 3rd best player in this draft. And if the Islanders can trade 3 picks or a pick and a young player, whatever it may be, to get the 1st and 3rd best player in this draft, I 100% think they will do it. And if they do, I think that's the best prospect pool in the NHL. Depending on what they give up, that is going to be huge for the future of the Islanders. And if this happens, I'm going to be absolutely thrilled. Yes, we have to see what it's going to cost, but there are very few things in my mind that I would not pay from the Islanders' perspective in order to bring in James Hagens. Now, there is a chance they just cannot get a deal done, or maybe Chicago shocks the world and drafts James Hagens 3rd overall, where I feel like he truly belongs. So while it'd be shocking just because they're not rumored to be selecting James Hagens, I think that's the pick that makes the most sense. I just don't think they're going to do it. I still think this trade can be a win for the Islanders, and the key here is going to be they have to select the right players. Now, we don't know how this order is going to go. There are so many different orders with this draft, so much variance between these players. There's a lot of talk that this draft is a weaker draft, and really I disagree. I think after the first 2, there's a big drop-off in talent. I think Hagens is right there with them, although some people disagree with me. But after that, I feel like there's a big step back in talent, but then there's a lot of consistency from, say, the range of 8 all the way down to 20, perhaps more 18, but that entire range, I think there's a lot of similar prospects in terms of just their value. Some guys have higher upside, like Roger McQueen, but potential really low potential if things go wrong, especially considering a back injury, while other guys are almost guaranteed to be NHL players, but there's a real question on how good they can be. Now, I can't focus on every single one of these players. If the Islanders had made this trade a week ago, we would have been talking about pretty much every guy on this list. But considering the draft is just hours away, there's really only a couple players I can focus on. And so I'm going to really talk about some of my favorite players from this list for the Islanders to bring in, assuming they don't trade these picks to get James Hagens, which I think is the best scenario. If they can't do that, number one, I think the most important player for them to draft is Logan Hensler. You need a right-handed defenseman, especially after trading Noah Dobson, and frankly, you need one that can actually play defense. Now that Schaefer is going to be your number one offensive defenseman, he's going to be your power play guy, you can really focus on getting someone who's more just defensively reliable, and I think Hensler has such a high floor in the NHL. Is he ever going to be a guy who scores 35 points in a season? Probably not, but I think he's going to be able to shut down other teams' top players. Perhaps a future Pellick Light on the right side is the player I absolutely love. From there, I'm really hoping that perhaps Roger McQueen or Victor Eklund slip down to the Islanders. I wouldn't pick Jackson Smith just because, even though I think he is one of the better players in this draft, you're already selecting Mathew Schaefer as a left-handed defenseman. You don't need to build an entire team around the left side of defense. Doesn't really make much sense, although if there really isn't as much value after him, I think you do pick him. I just think because there's so many players I like in this draft, I'd probably avoid him. Sean Ashton is actually a little more interesting, I would consider, although the same thing. He's a left-handed defenseman. Lyndon Lakovic is a player who I have really fallen in love with, and I can see slipping down a few spots. He's a player who grew recently, and as a result, he hasn't quite found out how to play with his body, but he is a big player who is highly skilled, and he just seems to know the hockey game so well. If he is available, I think that would be an incredible pick for the New York Islanders. I also think Justin Carboneau would be a very intriguing option, and he has the potential to be a really big goal scorer, but also has more bust potential. Players like Malcolm Sens I would probably avoid because while I do have really high floors, I don't think the ceiling is quite high. I'd be really interested in a player like Benjamin Kindle, who even though he is undersized, he had one of the best offensive seasons in the WHL, and I'm honestly surprised he's so low in so many lists. It's going to be really intriguing to see what the Islanders do, and you know, as soon as this draft is over, I'm going to come on here and tell you what I think about these picks and what they mean for the future of the New York Islanders. That being said, let me know from this list, or maybe there's players who are not in this list in the range of 10 to 24, what players you want the Islanders to draft with these two picks, assuming they don't get James Hagens, and let me know what you think the Islanders should do in this draft. I am so excited. I cannot wait for 7 p.m. to see what the Islanders do. Let's go, Islanders. My name is Patrick Nilan. This is Islanders Digest. We're going to have a lot to talk about tonight, and I'm looking forward to it. Hopefully I'm in a good mood, and honestly, I really can't see myself being in a bad mood, especially after you draft Mathew Schaefer. No matter what happens, the Islanders are in good hands for the future. Catch you in the next episode of Islanders Digest.